What up, Razzballers? Welcome back to another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Guasco, joined by my man, Jefferson, and Maddie Stiles. We got a big one for you tonight. Of course, it is week 3 in the books. Week 4 on tap. We got waiver ads, trade targets, and comments of the next couple of weeks. Injuries are piling up for us in the first month of the season. How is that affecting our rosters? Find out right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Sky Guasco. You can find me on X at Sky Guasco, SkyGuasco. Maddie Stiles up on the top in the black. That is Stiles, Stiles 08. And we got Jeff in the white, Jefferson __ Deuce Uno. Week 4 coming up at us. We got waiver ads coming. Matt's article always available for you for free at football.razzball.com, along with the rest of our amazing writers. Jeff also has some feedback coming up on all the players we're going to mention today and what their outlooks might be like, takeaways from last week, and what we can look for in the week ahead. And, of course, I'm going to wrap up the episode with my buys and sells for trade targets. Buy and trade targets. Sell. Heading out of week 3, heading into week 4. Not as many injuries this week as we had in the first couple of weeks, but they're still piling up here in the week. Are getting long in the tooth. So you're either 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, or 0-3. Hopefully, you're in the top of the bracket. We do have some people chiming in already in the comment section. Jamie chiming in with us. Good to see you, my man. We have about 45 minutes set aside for Roschon Johnson, so stick ahead for you, buddy. Bill Dino chiming in as well. Bill, good evening. Great to see you. It was always an epic fail in here before we even started up the show this evening. Once again, you can find everything Razzball at Razzball NFL on X. You can find us on the YouTube channel here. Subscribe and hit that bell. Don't miss any of your updates. Catch us live on the Sunday live show 2 hours before kickoff. And, of course, those of you on the go, you can catch us on the podcast side of things as well. That's the audio anywhere you listen to your audio and stream the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. That's enough of me. Week 4 underway. Maddie Stiles, what do you got for us in your article this week for week 4 waiver ads, week 4 waiver ads? Give us your top dog overall and then your top guy per position.
We don't get paid a lot to do what we do here. So for me to say the ad of the week was easy, right? Jawan Jennings.
My dog.
Yeah, he looked a little Jerry Rice-ish.
A little more like JJ Stokes, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Ronaldo Nehemiah-ish.
Ty Streets? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Nehemiah. But, I mean, the guy finished with 3 touchdowns. Brandon, and I will say this, right? So it's weird. No McCaffrey. Mason has looked a little more pedestrian over the last couple of weeks. And it's troubling to see Ayuk not being really solid. His hands don't look great. His routes don't look great. I think he'll be fine. But like Peyton Manning said, he should have probably shown up to camp, and he didn't. So we're going to have to deal with the fallout from that. George Kittle out. So it was Jawan Jennings Day. I like him as the ad of the week. The only caveat I will give you for that is it possible you missed the one blow-up week? I think Jennings is a good flex option moving forward, especially as Debo's down. And we know that Debo can suffer injuries more times than not. So I like having Jennings as a security blanket on the wide receiver and flex front. I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that I told you it was Sam Darnold season. It continued to be Sam Darnold season. But we'll pivot away from Sam and we'll say that my quarterback ad of the week, since Darnold should be rostered, even though he's not in a lot of places, give me the red rifle, right? We have a soft spot here on the show, especially Sunday morning for gingers of all sorts. So give me Andy Dalton and his absolutely Hall of Fame week 3, even though it was only week 1 for him. And by the way, can we admit that Bryce Young is not the dude?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Moving on to running back, still a couple of running backs that do not belong on the waiver wire. Braylon Allen, 36% rostered, but my favorite running back this week, I believe you can get him this week at a relative discount. Next week, his price is going to start to skyrocket, and that is Go Ducks Bucky Irving, who is basically taking the running back one from Rachaad White. Yep, big O, right? No longer in the Pac-2, but they are still a good football team with nice unis. So give me Bucky Irving as my running back ad. In fact, I'm going to add him for Tyler Algier. Even though I roster Bijan Robinson, I think that right now he holds more value, and I think it's going to increase. I think it's also going to improve 2024's current Rachaad White. He's going to go into a different role. I think he's going to be more pass catching. But we even made fun of Rachaad White last year, right? 3.8 yards a carry. It's not going to cut it in the NFL. What are we seeing now? We're seeing about 1.9 a carry. So they've got to figure something out. They've got to take the pressure off of Baker. I think Bucky Irving is the medicine that will cure those ills. Wide receiver, outside of Jawan Jennings, give me Darnell Mooney, who seems to be targeted every 3 dropbacks by Kirk Cousins. And I don't get paid by Quentin Johnston nor his family, but you've got to at least pay attention to the fact that the kid is catching footballs and he's catching touchdowns. So am I going to pick him up? No. Should I recommend him because I'm an unbiased presenter? Absolutely. So I don't love Quentin Johnston. I don't love him for a couple of reasons. One, Justin Herbert's looking at a high ankle. Easton Stick is no longer there, so can't really say that's the guy you want to start. Drew Brees, I think, retired. He was a Charger at one point. Phillip Rivers was also there, but I think they're both retired. So I'm going to steer away from Quentin Johnston. And again, Josh Palmer, when he comes back, might take some of that, the passing away from Johnston. Tight end, don't want to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Komet, Gesicki, Henry, that's it. I don't. Anybody that wants to talk about the tight end position should go find a new hobby. So I'm out on tight ends. All of them, every last one of them. It's just a dumb position to me right now.
Fair enough. Matt, really quick, on the spot rankings. I like to do this with you every week, depending on something that comes up here. Rank these Chargers quarterbacks: Stan Humphries, Drew Brees, Eli Manning.
Eli Manning didn't even don the jersey on draft night. Stan Humphries could chuck the football, but nobody outside of people my age really know who Stan Humphries was or is. If it wasn't Phillip Rivers and his 19 kids, by the way, his wife is still smoking hot with all those kids. I don't get it. Give me Drew Brees, a close second for Stan Humphries. And unless Bob was here, I'm not even going to put Eli Manning on the list. Okay. I would put Ryan Leaf. Our guy Ryan Leaf would go on the list before Eli Manning did. And we know that for those of you that don't know, outside of what you saw on a couple of snips for Ryan Leaf on in his pro debut season, he's a genuine dude. He's fought his demons, and he's out in the world doing good stuff for people. Good friend of Skies. We will get him on the program at one point or another. But big ups to Ryan Leaf and what he's conquered and come through and continues to fight. So good for him. Huge and by fan. The way, that's a
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
You got it. All right. I like it. Shout out to my good friend Ryan Leaf. Absolutely. All right. So we got our waiver ads for week 4. Jeff, you've been kind of diagnosing here with our list of players, just kind of some feedback on the last week and also what to look forward to in the upcoming matchups. Do any of these players stand out? What do you got for us looking ahead and also kind of catering to what we just saw in week 3?
Yeah, so I like Jennings as a waiver pickup and an immediate starter next week if you pick him up. Next week they got the Patriots. They allow the 2nd most receptions to receivers and the 12th most points to receivers as well. So, they allow the receivers from Seattle go for 10 catches over 100 yards. In week 2, week 3 the Jets receivers were decent, weren't great though, but they both scored tutties. So I like Jennings to keep it going. Purdy's averaging over 30 attempts a game. So with Debo out another game or two, depending if Kittle comes back, I don't see why Jennings can't have another big game. So definitely like him moving forward for the next couple of games. Bucky Irving. So I was really looking at him. I love adding him if you can. He is averaging 10 touches as a rookie, which is already impressive to me, only 3 weeks into the season. So hopefully he can get more touches. As referred to Rachaad White, 1.9 yards a carry. It's not going to get it done. White's better off casting patches. So I think if they utilize him, they use both backs better that way. better for Bucky and better for White. The only thing that does concern me is just Bucky has a really bad matchup next week. Atlanta, surprisingly, only allows the third fewest fantasy points to running backs, and they're one of 4 teams to have not allowed a rushing touchdown to running backs so far this year. So if you add Bucky, he may not be the best start next week, though, but I think long-term, he's a great player to have. And then in 2 weeks after that, they got Philly. They're allowing over 100 scrimmage yards to Kamara and Bijan. So I still think he's better down the road there for you. And then lastly, the red rifle, Andy Dalton, love it. He had 37 pass attempts in his first game.
And they were all gorgeous. They were beautiful.
And it sucks Thielen is out, but I think Xavier Leggett now will get a chance to shine. Maybe Mingo gets a chance, or maybe it's the tight end, Jatavion Sanders, who they drafted out of UT. So still like Andy with Canales there. Deontay may get more targets now, which could bode well for Dalton if he can keep getting separation as he did. He had that hell of a catch I loved in the end zone. So I like Andy moving forward as a good streamer in leagues where you're hurting a quarterback, AR-15. I don't want to bench him yet, but, he doesn't really look the part. He has a great play, and then that bonehead interception, you're like, what are you doing? Like, how can you look so good and the next play is that? So, or if you have Trevor Lawrence, maybe it's time to drop him. But I love Andy long-term with Canales, and I think he may keep the job the rest of the year if you look the way he did against the Raiders.
I like it. And he revived Deontay Johnson, who we've all been curious about moving over to Carolina as well. And we were live in the chat on Sunday talking a lot about, Andy Dalton's fun. Like Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, some of these OGs, like a couple years ago, it was Ryan Fitzmagic and all this stuff. Some of the OGs, when they get like a resurgence in their career and they come out and have some fun, it's just fun for football, fun for fantasy, but it really starts trickling down to the other guys on the team. And the reality is we kind of poke some fun at some of those guys as they get longer in the tooth and they're like, not great. They're fine. But like Flacco was unbelievable down the stretch last year. Andy Dalton could just straight up be, if he stays healthy, the starting quarterback and a good quarterback. And maybe the Panthers don't win a lot of games. Oh, by the way, they did beat the Raiders, but they could absolutely be more impressive in fantasy. So it sometimes just takes a little change like that to reinvigorate a team and your fantasy roster. So it might be kind of like tongue in cheek a little bit for Andy Dalton this week, but we see it next week and next week. Same with Sam Darnold. Eventually, like Baker Mayfield last year, we all kind of laughed, and then it just continued to happen. Don't throw shade too long and miss the ship just because it might be poking some fun a little bit at these guys. Okay, appreciate that. That's our waiver ads, and heading into trade targets, which I'll get to in just a second. We do have a couple of questions. I'm going to jump into these really quick here and just get some of our good buddies up on the program quick, and then I'll get into our trade targets. If you're just joining us, again, this is the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. All of our articles and all of our unique tools available at football.razzball.com. You can find us on X at Razzball NFL. You can find myself, Sky Guasco. You can find Stiles08, Stiles08, and Jefferson __ 21 as long as the rest of the gang. Let's get the epic fail here in before we even started the clock tonight. How much fab would you drop on Chuba in a 12-man PPR league? Styles, will go to you.
I don't know. He's had one good game. Jonathan Brooks should be in the mix in the next couple of weeks. I'm not a fan of dropping fab unless you have to. What we don't know about epic fail is what the rest of the roster looks like. So if he needs a starting running back for week 4 and Chuba's available, then he's going to drop more fab than as if he's just going to stash a guy on the bench. In fact, I answered one of my article questions recently from a reader that comments a lot, right? Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I trade this? Should I move this? And I'm like, listen, if you keep doing that, it's just a rotating door of who you're missing as a starter, right? Or who you're just changing out on your bench. Because if you pick up a guy every week and you try to start them and expect them to do what they did the week before, it may not work. They may be a flex play or they may be somebody that sits on your bench. But they're like Blake Corum, right? Chuba Hubbard. If you have them, you keep them. You don't need to drop them right now, but you also don't need to overpay for either one of them. Chuba, I don't know, a couple bucks maybe. He had one great game, but it was against the Raiders. We like to see the Raiders fail. Not Antonio Pierce, but some of the guys on defense, right? It's business decisions were being made. So I don't know. Tough to say in a vacuum how much you would drop for Chuba when we don't know the Like, is he 3-0? Is he 0-3? What's the roster look like? So tough to answer that one, but we can follow up if Epic Fail sends us a little bit more info.
Got it. All right. We know that Matt is contractually obligated not to talk about Bears, so he gets to skip this one. Quick thoughts on Roschon Johnson. Let's not forget, folks, he led the Chicago Bears in rushing last week, which is pitiful. It was only 30 yards. So, Jamie, I'm giving you your flowers just because this is the only opportunity we're going to be able to talk to Roschon Johnson, and we love you. So we're going to do this right now. But 30 yards on 8 attempts is not exciting. However, it is better than Swift with 13 carries for 20 yards and Khalil Herbert. Remember him? He was my top sleeper 4 years ago. 4 carries for 9 yards. The Bears are horrendous. So Stiles gets to sit on that as long as it's true. Is there any reason to be excited about Roschon Johnson, Jeff?
I think so. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but his first game, he saw 40% of the snap share in a game where Caleb threw 52 times.
Oof.
You'd think that would be DeAndre Swift getting more of that. So I think Roschon, I think we're looking at closer to a committee, unfortunately.
52 attempts, still bad, impossible. Bill Dino, looking to get rid of Squad of Hill. Looking to rid. I'm like, what? Sorry, Bill. Jeez. All right, hold on. I went to 3rd grade. It was a long time ago. Let me try again. Looking to rid my squad of Hill. Offer Hill for Najee, Hill and Najee for Henry, or offer Hill for Monty and Brian Robinson. Somebody take this away from me. Matt, I'll go to you.
Don't overreact, except you need information on how long Tua is going to be out. Is it just 4, which, by the way, he's already been out for 1? Or is it Tua is going to be out for an extended period of time? Now Skyler's hurt, and Tim Boyle has been all over between Green Bay and I believe maybe even spent a little time in Chicago, but I know he was with the Lions for a little bit. These guys are not NFL starting quarterbacks for a reason. They're good, really good football players, but they're probably more cerebral, right? They're more like coaches on the field. And I look to Miami to maybe go sign a veteran. Like right now, if I had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Achane and Mostert, and I hear that Flacco has been signed by the Dolphins, I'm doing a jig, right? I'm doing a happy dance. I'm all about that. But I don't know that they're going to do that. Flacco's just sitting by the way, Joe Flacco still has a home phone. So he's sitting next to the one that's on his end table by his recliner, the one you have to actually use the handle for.
Yeah.
Right? He's really old school. But Skylar Thompson could get it done. He's not going to get it done this week, right? He's banged up. Tim Boyle's not the answer. Tua's not going to be back for a few weeks. So I can see getting rid of Hill, but I also think you should pump the brakes on who could be the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. Najee's injured, so maybe you can give him there's a discount that you're giving up there. If you can get Derrick Henry, sure. But remember, Derrick Henry's 58. Right, Sky, you have him for 20 touchdowns. How many is he at now? 3, I think.
Right on pace, 1 per week.
Yeah, 1 per week. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I like Monty. For whatever reason, Monty was the guy again last week. I love Brian Robinson's story, but I'm not sure that I want a running back on a Jaden Daniels-led team. So for me, I'm probably pumping the brakes and holding Hill. Short answer made very long, so I'm probably holding Hill.
Matt, quick question. The recliner, right? My grandpa, two different grandpas had them, but they had that mechanic grease, the old grease stain where they pass out on the recliner. Yes. And it has that little – I think they all had them back in the 90s, Do you think Flacco has one of those old kind of Cadillac hyper fast VCR rewinders sitting right there?
No,
do you know what I mean? You put it in the trunk and then it rewinds it extra fast.
Yep. Yeah. If anything, his would be an El Camino.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
My buddy had an El Camino in high school, and we used to line it with not beers, but had a pool in the Cali sun. Put a little tarp back there. Oh, it was legit. All right, we should move on here. Jamie coming in. When Debo gets back, will Jennings be a good flex? He usually gets 4 to 5 targets. That's an easy yes. You're going to ride the wave. Brock Purdy is playing out of his mind, folks. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I'm not going to take anybody else. The Niners have blown 2 leads, which is impossible for who they are and what that team is, but they've done it. So they're 1-2, which is embarrassing. But they're still a very good team. They've got injuries all over the place. The best thing about the 49ers for all these years, though, is they always have depth at every position. Jennings is that guy right now. Ride the wave as long as you can. He's going to be just fine. Epic fail. What should I do about the defense this week? We got the Raiders in Cleveland. We got Miami and Tennessee. Or should I just trust the Vikings, who have been playing very well, to be set and forget the defense? Jeff, will go to you this one quick.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing. I'm streaming Miami. Will Levis is going to throw you a pick, at least 2. Maybe you get a pick 6 out of it. So Miami defense isn't as bad as they looked. So I'm going to ride with Miami on this one.
There you go. And the Raiders just kind of laid a goose, and the Browns showed up last week. The Vikings are playing very well, but they're kind of a bit hit or miss. Played Mooney over Pittman and Scott Fish. Love to see that. Getting more excited about Roshan. We know you are. Follow up 2-1. Running backs. We need follow up info. 2-1. Okay. Running backs are Jacobs. Got it. You're going to be just fine there. Dusto coming in here. Drop Chase Brown for Bucky. Matt, we just gave a big up to Bucky. Are we going to keep Bucky over Chase Brown?
Well, I'll tell you what, pre-show, Jeff and I had this conversation about teams that have 2 adequate runners and no superstar runner. The teams like, and mind you, Cincinnati lost last night, so the argument is a little skewed. But if you watched with your eyes that football game, Chase Brown, Zach Moss both looked really good. If you watch the other game and notice that Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne are also good running backs, Etienne could probably be called elite if you go back to 2023. They look terrible, but they didn't use them the same way that the Bengals used Brown and Moss. There's got to be a way for them to figure out how best to use their running backs when they have to, right? If you're Derrick Henry, then, or if you're the Ravens, right, Derrick Henry is the alpha. If you're the Colts, Jonathan Taylor. If you're the Rams, it's Kyron Williams. But for teams like the Bucs and teams like the Bengals, I would go with the guy that's getting the most touches right now. It's Chase Brown. However, I think that the Bucky Irving story changes. It may not be like Jeff mentioned in week 4, but I think he starts to accelerate, and he's going to be a guy that you want to start as a bye week replacement when we hit the bye week. So in week 5, it's the Chargers, Lions. Help me. I had it memorized and I forgot. I'll look it up. But yeah, Jeff, go ahead. I'll look it up and tell you who the other 2 are. I know it's the Lions for sure. Lions and Chargers.
Yeah, I would say make the move for Bucky right now. I just like what he's bringing to the table in Tampa. They used, some draft capital in getting him. They intended to use him, and he's getting 10 touches already, so he's only going to increase, I'm assuming.
Titans and Eagles, those are the other 3. Lions, Chargers, Eagles, Titans. So there are running backs that you need to pay attention to. Bucky Irving is a good option to back up your Saquon, to back up your J.K. Dobbins, your Gus Bus, even though he doesn't seem to play football anymore.
There we go. Bucky Irving. Go Ducks.
Go
All
Ducks.
right, let's go to the buys and sells. Appreciate everybody jumping in here on the waiver. If you have any trade questions, now would be the time there as well. Razzball Fantasy Football Show coming at you hot and ready per usual on a Tuesday evening. I'm going to give you 2 buys and 2 sells this week. I was doing 1 per position. Quarterbacks and tight ends kind of fade out this way. There's just a lot of these guys are taken, and a lot of them are hurt at this point. So we're going to stick to running backs and wide receivers for the most part. Dusto, you are more than welcome. And please feel free to jump in on Sunday morning, 2 hours before kickoff right here on this channel. We will be live doing a start-sit show. We do it continuously for 2 hours. We answer many, 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 many questions. Feel free to come in and drop your start-sits at that point. All right, we got buys and sells. I'm going to give you guys 4 names, and then I'm going to get some feedback. Buying right now, and I'm pretty surprised at this one actually, but it just makes sense to me finally. Stephon Diggs. I faded him all summer, faded him in draft season. I have 0 shares of Stephon Diggs, and I don't feel bad about it at all. However, it was nice to see Stephon Diggs finally play football the way that we know he has. Led Houston wide receivers, 29% target share last week. 10 catches, 94 yards on 12 targets. If he's getting the volume like he used to in Buffalo in those big games, it's going to come around. He's going to have a bigger game. Nico Collins is great. Obviously, Tank Dell's great. Obviously, that offense is awesome. But they pick a guy usually and ride the hot hand. If it becomes Stephon Diggs for some reason because Nico now is getting that double coverage, I want to fade that direction. I still think drafters are kind of disappointed about Stephon Diggs. They bought the name. He's not producing. Now he finally is. You might have another week to go and get him if you need. Just don't think of him as a top 12 wide receiver anymore. If you get him as a wide receiver 2, I think you'd be really happy about that. So go ahead and do it. 93 air yards. You know, we love air yards on this show. 93 air yards is what I'm excited about. Go buy Stephon Diggs, Houston Texans. Rashid Shaheed, not Chris Olave, the number 1 wide receiver in New Orleans. However, I know people are like, Rashid Shaheed, he had a terrible game. He did. You're right. 0 catches, 110 air yards. Jeff's favorite stat. 110 air yards, folks. Okay. 56% target share. He got all the looks. He just was not able to come down with the ball. Very impossible to do as a wide receiver, but it happens. He catches those passes. He has a massive, massive game. In week 1, 3 catches, 73 yards and a touchdown. Week 2, 4 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown. The Falcons play heavy zone. They were able to shut it down. Rashid Shaheed, I think, is going to be great next week against the Falcons. The Eagles played great defense. The Falcons, I don't think, will deep. And I think they're going to put up points on the Saints. So should be a nice divisional matchup there. Go get Rashid Shaheed while you can. Sells. Now, this is a Jamie segment. Jamie, this is all for you, buddy. Sell DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is not awesome. Moreover, his teammate, who's also not awesome, is better. Roshan Johnson, once again, led the team with 30 yards, but 8 carries. Khalil Herbert also had 9 yards on 4 carries, and Swift just 20 yards on 13 carries. Herbert got all the goal line work. So I hate that for Roshan Johnson and DeAndre Swift, but bringing DeAndre Swift in this offseason of a bunch of moving parts for the Bears and just having him as a role player at best. We saw him get work with Detroit. We saw him get work with Philadelphia. And when he was able to be that featured guy, he absolutely crushed. And I loved him in college as well. But they're not using him as a featured back. That's a problem when we have our fantasy running backs like that. So sell DeAndre Swift. Next up, Amari Cooper. I love Amari Cooper, and he's fun to watch when he goes off. And Bob's not going to want to hear this. But when he goes off, it's a time to sell. He unfortunately just is a boomer bust player. And it's not him. It's always his quarterback. Deshaun Watson finally showed up. He had a massive game. 32% target share on 12 targets, 7 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 128 air yards. All of that is immaculate. The first 2 weeks, though, he basically disappeared. So as he's gone off this week, he's a sell for me. I feel like you can trade Amari Cooper for Stephon Diggs right now. You could probably trade Rashid Shaheed and a piece. You can acquire them for Amari Cooper. So I would move off of Swift and Cooper. I would like to get Shaheed and Diggs. Jeff, quick thoughts on those guys.
No, I like it. I too was kind of down on Diggs entering the year, but he's the second most targets in Houston right now. I thought Dell would get more of that, but surprisingly, it's not been that way. The next couple games, they get some good matchups as well. So I think Diggs will kind of continue it. You know, they got the Jags next week. They're giving it up to receivers, and then the Bills in 2 weeks. That might be a shootout. That might be finally a game where the Bills will have to be in it for 4 quarters, but we'll see. Rashad Shaheed, love the air. I don't know how you knew I was going to bring that up, though. But right now he's top 15 in air yards, and he's actually second in the league with 24.1 yards a catch with receivers with at least 7 receptions. So I love Rashad Shaheed right now. Getting him right now. You mentioned his next opponents. All 4 of those games are going to be indoors. So they're going to be airing it out. You don't have to worry about weather being a factor. So this is a great time to buy low on a guy who had 0 points last week. So definitely go get him. I have him in my Dynasty League, so I'll be playing him again. For Swift, talked about it earlier. They're in a committee right now in Chicago. I think he was a product of his situation in Philadelphia and with the Lions. I don't think he's really that guy. I think there were concerns entering the year, and I think now we're seeing it. Through 3 weeks, his snap share has decreased every week, and it was at 50% last week. So with Roshan, Khalil, I think they're going to steal touches away. And so, yeah, if you can sell now while you can. Amari Cooper as well, like you mentioned, good sell high to 2 touchdowns. Watson situation, I don't know what's going to happen there, if he's going to be staying or suspended. Who really knows? So I don't like to have controversy with my quarterback if it's not for injury concerns. So if I can sell, definitely want to sell right now.
I love it. Those are the buys and sells for week 4. We also talked about our waiver ads. And once again, post show, make sure you jump over to X and you can get the list from Matt and I from our waiver ads. And of course, you can get Matt's article always available at football.rasball.com. Stiles, you're on the clock.
Quick quiz. I know Jeff's favorite stat is air yards. Sky, you're a big air yards guy as well. Can you tell me in week 3 what 3 players in no particular order had the most air yards?
Well, it's got one of them's got to be
Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings for sure. I'm going to go Amari Cooper, Jennings, and Rashid Shaheed.
Incorrect, and incorrect. Marvin Harrison Jr., otherwise known as Maserati Marv.
That's right.
Malik Neighbors.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
The
Malik had a big game.
rookies. Yeah.
And Rome Odunze.
Man, rookie breakouts.
Now, mind you, you gave all kinds of statistics about air yards that were pretty significant. Think about how awesome that is for 3 rookies to lead the league. I mean, I wasn't. Those are the 3 that I was down on, right? Give me McConkey, give me Worthy, and give me Brian Thomas Jr. I tried to make a bold prediction, but those 3 are starting to separate themselves from the pack. Now, Odunze may come back to earth a little bit when your guy Keenan Allen is back, but I mean that was impressive to hear that the 3 rookies led the NFL in air.
I love that. Nice jump in there. OJ Santos got offered Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnson's for Stephon Diggs. Do you guys rather have Diggs or QJ and Zay Flowers? Jeff?
I actually rather have Diggs right now. I don't know what the Ravens offense is. It's so Jekyll and Hyde one week to the next. Zay's getting all the screens, and the next week they're just running it 30 times with Henry. So I'd rather have Diggs.
Stiles?
Yeah, I'm probably sticking with Zay Flowers and the 3 touchdowns from Johnston. And can somebody please explain to me how Mark Andrews goes 0 for 1? Was he pinch hitting?
Well, yeah, likely only had 1 grab too. So I don't know what that passing offense looks like week to week.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't get it. Mark Andrews is a top. I can't. I told no tight end talk. I'm not talking. No tight end. None.
Speaking of pinch hitting, how about one of the top 5 pitchers in Major League Baseball just going 50 for 50 this year? Absolutely incredible. We don't talk about the Dodgers on this program, but I love me some good baseball. Good grief.
He actually single-handedly won the fantasy football championship for my opponent.
I bet he did. Yeah, makes it in 1 game.
Well, he did it twice. If you look at his Sunday line, it was almost as sick as the game in Miami. It was ridiculous. But I don't want to get fired. Bob doesn't like baseball.
I didn't mention baseball. I was talking about pinch hitting. Bob doesn't even know what pinch hitting means. So no. We were good until you sold us out. Speaking of baseball, though, we will get out of here on the clock as we always do. We're going to guess the cap. Matt's got a red one. It looks like Jeff's going Oakland A's. I know you're pouring one out for the Oakland A's, dude. I get it. Again, as a Bay Area kid, I mean, I respect it. Are you not going to A's? It really?
No, it's a blue hat.
Is it? Oh, is it red? Okay, look the yellow then.
Navy blue?
Yeah, navy blue.
I'm going to go Twins.
Wow, that's a good guess right off the bat. Navy blue. I'll go Braves. It's Cardinal. Houston.
Oh.
Playoff baseball time.
Baseball time.
Go Mariners.
Jeez. Break out the trash cans. Okay, Stiles. We're gonna go Midwest on this one. I got to go with the bread and butter. I'm gonna go with the St. Louis Cardinals. Oh, right off the bat. Nice. Little Stan Musial shout out.
Yes. Splendid Splinter.
So good. Yeah. I believe someone could double check me on this. It's an older one. I believe he's the only player in the top 20 in singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. That might not be the case anymore with some newer guys coming up. But when I was a kid, my dad gave me that trivia question. I never forgot about it. So there might be some newer cats in there now. But I believe for a long time, he was the only one in the top 20.
I've never heard that, but I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, you should. I think guys like A-Rod and Pujols, and maybe not triples though. Triples is the tough one, right? Because you got to get the triples, but then you got guys that get triples that don't hit dingers necessarily. They're just different players. So, yeah, fun stat there. All right, before we do get fired, we're going to stop talking about baseball. This is the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. You can find everything Razzball NFL. You can subscribe right here to the YouTube channel. And, of course, find us on the podcast as well. You can find all of our great articles and amazing writers and all of our tools at football.razzball.com. Stiles and I will be putting up our waiver ads and our trade target players right now on X, so make sure you go over there and check it out. Make sure you share that out there, double tweet it, and let us know if you think that those are the players you're going to be looking for, or if you have any comments. We will get back to you at 1,000% hit rate. We'll be back with you the rest of this week with all of our great analysts, and we'll see you Sunday morning for the Sunday Live Start Sit Show 2 hours before kickoff. For Matt and Jeff, I'm Sky, and we'll catch you next time on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. Always a pleasure. Never a chore, my friends. Have a great evening. Take care of yourself and each other. We are out of here.